How's it going? Doing another video in the Facebook poll series. I put a poll up on my Facebook page asking people what kind of content they wanted to see, and I did the how I eat vegan, and I did the gear that I always carry. So today we're going to talk about shelters and sleep systems. So these are the sleep systems I usually carry. I've got my North Face Mica 2 FL, my Eagle's Nest Sublink hammock setup, a newer tent, Six Moons Design Lunar Solo, and then the River Country Products tent that you've seen in a few videos. It's the tent that I always take with my dog Atticus. Each shelter has its own pros and cons, and we'll go over each of those a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and set up the North Face and the Six Moons Design. I unfortunately don't have anywhere in my backyard where I can set up the hammock, but we'll pull it out of the bag and take a look at it and talk about it. So the primary difference between these two tents is that the North Face is a freestanding tent for the most part. You do have to stake out the rain fly if you want to be able to use the vestibule. So this one I carry primarily in winter on snow, hard-packed granite. We camped in loose sand near Death Valley. And those are all really good applications for a freestanding tent because you don't necessarily have to stake the whole thing out. It's got these lightweight DAC poles that give the tent structure. So this is a double wall tent, meaning that the rain fly is separate from the body of the tent. And you can see the body of the tent is primarily mosquito netting. So that helps a lot with ventilation and preventing condensation. This particular tent has two just massive vestibules, which is really nice. I'll typically pick one door, that's my enter and exit, and then all my gear gets stowed in the opposite vestibule. Tons of room, tons of ventilation. It is heavier than my other tents, but there are times when the extra weight is worth it. So the Lunar Solo is my newest tent. I've only slept in it 3 times so far, but it was really comfortable every night that I slept in it. The third night there was a pretty vicious rainstorm, and I stayed dry and warm the whole night. I did have an issue with condensation in the morning because this is a single wall tent. As you can see, it's all just one solid piece. There's no separate rain fly. There's less ventilation. You do have the netting all the way around the base. And the door is fully netted. But if it's raining or snowing and you have to have the rain fly closed, you're going to get a little bit of condensation. And again, we have a nice big vestibule for stowing gear, just one on this tent. Plenty of room for me. I probably could bring the dog if I was feeling brave, but I just don't want him poking holes in the floor of this tent. So this tent is non-freestanding, which means it has to be staked out. There's no pole system to give it the structure. The structure is created by tension from the guy lines pulling down on a single point of contact with your trekking pole. The nice thing about that is you don't have to carry the extra poles. You know, you're already carrying a trekking pole most likely, and you just use that to set up your tent. The downside to that is if you're in an area where staking out is more difficult, you have to get kind of creative. You can tie the guy lines out with rocks, or I've tied them to trees on occasion if I had to, if I couldn't find a place to put a stake. So there are some drawbacks, but the pack weight saving is just phenomenal. So kind of the rationale for having two different tents, and the reason I bought the Six Moon Designs. The North Face tent is a great tent. It is a little heavy and it's kind of bulky in my pack. So the Six Moon Design tent I wanted for trips where I just want to move fast and light, you know, super low pack weight, minimal gear, smaller backpack, but not really sacrifice any comfort. So now let's talk about this hammock setup. This is the Eagle's Nest Outfitter Sub 7. So you've got a very lightweight hammock. It came with the Rainfly, and this actually works as a tarp as well. You can use trekking poles, the provided stakes and the guy lines, and just set up a tarp just on the ground. And the bug net, which slides right over the hammock. It came with the straps and the stakes that you would need. So pretty much a complete system all in one little bag. And the bag, when you flip it inside out, has this nice fleece, so you can stuff your sweatshirt or your jacket or whatever in there, and you've got a pillow. So really the only other thing you would need to carry with this setup is your sleeping bag. And last but not least is my River Country Products Trekker 2. I featured this one in a couple of videos, so I don't want to spend a ton of time on it. I do only carry this tent when I bring Atticus. If he pokes a hole in the bottom of this one, I'll just patch it up, and I'm not really going to worry about it. It's a $50 tent. If he poked a hole in the Six Moon Designs tent, I'd be a little more upset. And really, even the North Face tent, as old as it is, I would be kind of bothered. So now let's talk about my sleep systems, sleeping bag, pads, things like that. This is the bag I carry the most often. It's made by Mountain Hardwear. It's a synthetic 22 degree. And it's done me really well. It's kept me pretty warm in some pretty extreme conditions. In the colder weather, I do have to supplement that bag with a liner. I carry the Sea to Summit Thermalite. It's just a fabric thermal liner. Helps keep me a little bit warmer and keeps the inside of the bag cleaner, which is nice. I did recently decide that I wanted something warmer than a 22 degree, but I didn't want to spend a ton of money. So I bought a hike and bike synthetic 0 degree. Sleeping bag temperature ratings can be a bit misleading because it depends on which scale they're using. The Mountain Hardwear bag is rated on the comfort scale, so that means that the average male will be comfortable down to 22 degrees. The hike and bike bag is rated on the survival scale, which means if it dips into the single digits, I'm not going to be terribly comfortable, but I'm not going to die. Now I've used this Mountain Hardwear bag camping in the snow on Lassen, camping in the snow in Desolation Wilderness, and as long as I've supplemented it with that liner and with a heftier base layer, I've been totally comfortable. I've really only had one opportunity to sleep in the hike and bike bag, and it did get down into the low 20s, high teens, and I was really, really comfortable the whole night. Like, never once did I feel a chill. And at one point, even Atticus got too cold, and so I unzipped the bag all the way like a quilt and covered both of us. And we both stayed really warm the rest of the night. And I was just on my normal Neo Air Max sleeping pad, which only has like a R rating of 3, an insulation rating. And so the bag really, first impressions were positive. I'm not ready to go all in on it yet, but I will say first impressions were positive. If you spend any time on my channel at all, you've probably heard me mention that I'm vegan, so all of my bags are synthetic. I don't carry any animal products at all. And that is kind of limiting to a degree, because I know down is kind of perceived as the better insulator, I just won't carry it. So those are my various shelters and sleep systems. Each one serves its own purpose, just depending on what the weather's going to be like and what the terrain is going to be like. You know, the hammock, I don't get as much use out of as I'd like to, which is a shame, because I really do sleep better in a hammock. I just so often find myself sleeping above the tree line that a hammock isn't really useful anymore at that point. But on the trips where I can carry it, it's my go-to shelter. It's my favorite of the bunch for sure. I hope you found some value in this video. While you're here, if you want to tap that like button and maybe even hit that subscribe icon so you see future videos, I would certainly appreciate it, and we'll talk soon.